Hi, my name is Anne. Thank you for joining me. I want to talk without an agenda. There's a lot going on and a lot has come through for me. I did a video a couple days ago talking about some truths being revealed, and I didn't really get into the detail around it, but I knew that what was happening was really, really big. And I was living in a quite quantum moment, so sometimes that's really a time when it's hard for me to articulate in words and explain exactly what is happening. So I've really taken the last couple days to sort of think through it, but I'm still coming to you without really any scripting. And I'm supported by a little yellow finch who has come to my window a number of times, and it's never actually happened before, but he or she is very cute, so I know there's some higher guidance behind me talking with you today. So there's a couple things that came through in particular for me that day, and one was some truths are being revealed. And what was behind that is many of us have been dealing with control, manipulation, gaslighting, narcissistic personalities, and it is definitely a trend as many people try to get through the challenging time of being and letting go of the grip, and I will say grip, of what we're terminizing as narcissism. But let's just say it's a behavior that is not coming from a place of light. I think that's how I'd like to describe it. So what happened for me is there was some clear information that came through around those types of behaviors that were existent in my life, and some real clarity about what that really was. So for any of you who have experienced this in your life, you will know how difficult it is to get over, because there's so much brainwashing and gaslighting that occurs along with that relationship. And breaking free of that is probably the hardest part of it. So some of that was released, and clarity and understanding that, okay, I can let this go now. So that was very, very big. There's a lot of meaning behind that one thing in itself, but we'll keep moving forward. The other thing that came through was, for me, was my purpose, my role changing quite dramatically. Now, I'm not a spring chicken. I've been around for a while and have had many experiences in life. I have a couple of kids who I'm extremely proud of, and really, my purpose is dual, to not only find and explore myself, but it was very clear that my job and my real purpose in my life was to raise well-balanced children in terms of focusing and spending time with them and on them, and changing the patterns of upbringing that existed within my childhood. And I knew that early on without actually knowing what that all meant. But I know that was a huge part of my mission. And luckily, my son is just graduating high school this next week. So it's a pretty powerful time for me, in that it's amazing to see my two babies be so actualized, and to be self-sufficient, and to stand in their own person, because that was really important to me, is to make sure that their voices were heard and that their individual and unique personalities were allowed to shine in the way they were meant to shine. And they are two very different people. So that was definitely one of my purposes. So I feel very vindicated that I did a good job there. Now, the other one was, I learned later on, is that my true calling is very mystical. I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart. I do have a lot of Gemini and Mercury energy also present. But part of my mission was to realize my own power, and then as well to recognize that my purpose here is to share with the undertaking of bringing humanity to a different level. So as a messenger, way shower, that was what I was doing. Now, much of this work wasn't necessarily in the public eye, but was to work through my own healing. And I think many of us do not give credit for the fact that service work is also the process of healing, particularly in the area of trauma and toxic relationships. So as a messenger, I did some things in social media because I am quite creative and I really enjoy it. But I got the message that came through the other day that role is changing. And part of what I had to go through and experience was some very deep and dark, traumatic, life-changing events, literally. And the fact that I'm still alive is absolutely in itself a miracle. Now, I mean that this involved an organ transplant and recovery, a very long and difficult recovery, as well as ascension occurring at the same time, as well as dealing with narcissism. So there's a lot going on in my life, and boy, I tell you, to kind of get the message that my role is changing is a little bit of a relief, to be honest with you. So my warrior days served me well, but I believe that there are so many other capable and amazing people who are now taking over some of these responsibilities of helping others ascend. Now, I believe that's still my role. I'm really interested in working and guiding individuals personally. That's where I could get real reads and real guidance, help with guidance for areas of blockage around their energy and that kind of thing. So that's where I will be spending a lot more time within my own community, as well as within this community. But so some of us are going through role changes, and where that actually is leading, we will find out. I know that I will be starting some new shows with sort of a bit of a different viewpoint on them. So, but what, okay, so let's talk about what is happening then overall. So what we've got is we've got some clarity. We have some truths that are showing up within each of us. So as we start to see these truths, more information comes in. And let's talk about truth, because I want to throw in here a very big topic, which, you know, it can be a video right on its own. But, you know, I like to throw it all out there and let's bring it all to the table right now. So truths are being revealed. Okay, let's talk about disclosure. All right, so disclosure. It's happening. Like there is no question that alien life is really, we're going to use the term out there. But when you watch very television programs, I watch very, very little television, but you know, take a boo at Ancient Aliens. Now, you know, I don't sit around and just focus, you know, on my computer and doing research on all of this stuff. I have, you know, a busy life with, you know, my kids and home and all of that stuff, as probably many of you do. But, you know, I can just sit back on a Friday night and turn on the television, which I do sometimes just for some recorded programs that I like to see what mainstream media is actually putting out there. So Ancient Aliens, they're basically saying, you know, the UFOs exist. There are files put out by that were previously, so they're released files, and there are many intelligence people that are coming forward into the table wanting this information to be released. I mean, the evidence is such that I don't know how you can't believe that they actually exist. Now, I know the people listening to this will go, well, duh, but the thing is, and also that there is a new element to the table, which basically gives us new energy, and this is the stuff that will catapult us literally into, you know, different to space. Okay, it's what the stuff flying saucers are made of. Now, these are television programs with a great deal of research and some real highly intelligent people behind some of this information. The thing that gets me is the amount of those who are still unconscious and can't see or accept that this is a reality. So you start to really understand this whole awakening or consciousness, because I'm not sure how they can basically put this information out there and it's not even in the news. Now, maybe that's denial. Maybe that's, you know, we have been brainwashed to believe that that's all bunk because it has been hidden for so long. But it is definitely happening. Now, I wouldn't say this if I didn't actually believe it after watching these programs and, of course, spending quite a bit of time in the community. Now, I'm going to call this the community because even the term spiritual community, for me, leaves me, there's a lot of gray area in that space. I believe our mission here is to become our authentic selves, not necessarily spiritual. So whatever that means to you, whatever your particular purpose here in life is, and each one of us has a very unique and special role to play. And we have different pieces of this puzzle. So not one person is going to know all the pieces. It's not designed that way. So there you go. I mean, basically disclosure. And, you know, what is the event? Well, it depends on your point of view. Like, there's, you know, my perspective is, if you really want, you know, this one event, if you're counting on this event to change your life, you haven't done the work. Because the work, you are yourself. Your self-actualization is the work, is the event. So the event has happened to many of us already. You know, I'm living a quantum life. And it is a different way of operating, and it's a different way of thinking. And this is where many of us are moving to quite quickly. So, you know, this is turning into a bit of a rant, but I really can't help myself, because I'm trying to make sense of this for you, and some of it just will not make 100% sense because it's still being worked out. But what is so important to me and this process is this whole strategy of fear and self-doubt and anger and just creating havoc. Our mission here is pure. It is to find and discover yourself, to bond with Mother Earth, to be good, kind, compassionate person, to be that way with others, and to be love. That is ultimately as simple as it gets. This is our mission. Good things come to people who are like that. Well, you know, not necessarily. I think it depends on where we're at with our missions here. They're all different. We just really have to accept that. But everybody's got a different role to play. We've all been brainwashed to believing that we are all alike and we're all the same, and we all have to have this, walk this path in life this way, or we don't fit in and are shunned, you know. And for some people, that is hard to stand in line with being different, to being really different in your way you live your life and the way you think about things. It doesn't fit society's norm. But I'm going to tell you something. There is not going to be anything that's considered normal coming quickly towards us. So who those people who many thought were out of their minds are going to be the ones who are actually the ones who are doing the helping. So there is an awful lot going on. But what I can say is, keep it simple, for God's sakes. Like, you know, I realize that everyone's on different missions and has different roles to play in terms of how, you know, how far out there they are versus, you know, how earthbound they are. We still live on this earth. We still need to protect this earth. We still need to care about this earth. This is what we're given. And we need to put our efforts into making it better, not hurting it. So this whole concept with spraying our crops with poison and basically killing that which is earth is, why don't people understand that? This is ridiculous. I don't see how that can continue when there's so much evidence that it's full of pesticides that are killing everything. That is a rant, but holy cow. I mean, seriously. And as well as, this 5G, there's also scientific evidence that this is bad for the human body. So why isn't impacts to humanity and animals and nature and everything from a biology perspective considered? I'm going to leave that open and rhetorical. But I think you're getting it. Now, this is the revolt, I'm sitting here like many others going, something is not right, and it's not. So this change is critical. And if you're going through this difficult process of going, when is this over? Keep freaking fighting, because we need to get this done. And I'm telling you, you can do it. You got to be a warrior. Some of it does take that. So I'm going to come back to you. I hope I made some sense here. I threw a lot of stuff out there. But I think we have to keep this attitude of, this is, we know that this, I don't even know what to call it, New Earth, 5D. I'm kind of resonating with my quantum. But there's still a lot to be unfolded here. And, I think that secret lies in all of us still maintaining the right mindset and not falling. We have to stand together still, but in a nice way. I'm always open to hearing your feedback. I know it's not always necessarily positive, but I do read the comments, and I'm so appreciative of the people who are kind of like with, we're together, because this can be a bit of a lonely, quite frankly, a lonely journey for those who are on it and are separated from those others who are on it, but not, in the same physical perspective. So stay happy, stay strong, stay kind. Bye.